Hey, Rick Sayes here. Welcome to Season 3 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, recorded at the Surf City Studios in Costa Mesa, California. I have another great season of interviews with retailers, brand managers, athletes, executives, and others in the outdoor biz to share their stories, tips, advice, productivity tricks and hacks, and ideas you can use to take your career business to the next level. If you're starting an online business, publishing a blog, and looking to take your online presence to the next level, visit theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/WordPress and get going today. With simple installation tools and thousands of themes to choose from, you'll be up and running in no time. Go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/WordPress and get your site launched today. There was some great info and motivation in this wide-ranging conversation with Breanne Kiefner from Root Adventures. Breanne tells us how Root Adventures came to life, some of the challenges she faced, and the custom adventures Root delivers. Enjoy. Hey, Breanne, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rick. I'm excited to be on here.
Yeah, great to chat with you. So we ran into each other at the ATTA event, as ATTA and ATCF, I think, Adventure Travel Adventure Group, and then the Adventure Travel Conservation Fund got together at that workspace in Denver. That's a great workspace, isn't it?
Yeah, Wayfinder.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe and Chris have done a really nice job there.
Yeah, they were on the show last year, right? We did an episode right as they were having their opening party that night, and they were still, you could hear saws and things in the background. They weren't done. It's pretty fun. But man, they've done a great job. Have you done any work out of there?
I have worked out of there a little bit, but not since they've completed it. I think they really just completed it a couple months ago. So
Yeah, I think so.
to,
Yeah, looks
to
great.
establish my space there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's a good spot to work. Is it close to you? Could you like ride a bike?
I could ride a bike. It's on the other side of Denver, though, so I'd
Yeah,
have to
okay.
deal with all that traffic.
Yeah, a bit of a trek, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's start with your inspiration for the outdoors. How'd you get excited about outdoor activities and adventure travel?
Well, I never actually traveled outside of the country until I was about 24 years old. And I've always loved exercise and fitness and being outside, but it was not necessarily a big part of my family life. And then when I was about 24, my then boyfriend, now husband, and I decided to sell everything we own and backpack through Latin America.
Nice.
I don't know what gave us the strength to do it, but we did it, and
Cool.
so much better for it.
Yeah, awesome. How long did that take?
That was 6 months.
Nice.
So we just got a flight to Puerto Vallarta and no agenda, just started heading down south and figured it out as we went.
Oh, man, what a great trip, huh?
It really was. And, one of the big questions we often get from that trip is, how do you afford that? You must just have a lot of money.
Right.
And the entire trip cost us $6,000, including flights for
Wow.
6 months. And if you really want to make it happen, you can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a way to do it, right?
And being 24 and staying in terrible hospitals helps.
Yeah. You're a little less concerning about things like that at 24. You'll sleep anywhere, eat anything, whatever. Yeah.
I could not do that today. I'll give you
I bet you could if you had to. You just might stay at a little nicer places.
a little nicer.
It'll cost you $12,000, not $6,000.
Exactly.
Right. So did you work in the outdoor industry or adventure, or that was just your
No,
first?
so I've actually been in the hospitality industry
Oh, okay.
for about 17 years. I started out working at the Grand Lake Lodge up near the Rocky Mountain National Park here in Colorado as a housekeeper.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And so I kind of just got thrust into this hospitality world and was kind of going through the motions. And then we did this big backpacking trip. And when I was coming back to the States, I was like, I have to do something with all this information in my brain. I cannot go sit behind a desk talking about needing space any longer.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to find a job in the adventure travel industry, working for one of the more well-known companies in Seattle, and learned from some of the best people in the industry.
Oh, cool.
And just kind of carried on from there. I've worked for 3 different adventure travel companies, all of whom I learned a lot of information from, and kind of learned what I wanted to see for myself and for my travelers. One thing I found with the last 2 companies that I worked for is they were doing all Google AdWords. So that means you had, 1% chance of booking these trips, which meant that the people that are actually booking your clientele, they're only getting 1% of your effort.
Right.
And that just didn't work for me. I felt disengaged. I lacked creativity because I was just trying to get these itineraries out to people. And I
Just a numbers
re
game. You didn't really connect with anybody. You just
exactly.
blasted right through them. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was really important to me to get back to why I loved this industry. There was a
Mm-hmm.
reason I left the hospitality industry and joined the adventure travel industry. It's because I really love these adventures and I love the ability for people to connect to these experiences and really find something that is right for them,
Right.
not necessarily something that I already have drafted an itinerary for. I
Uh-huh.
wanted to listen and find out what was right for my clientele and focus a bit more on the wellness side and the
Mm-hmm.
engagement and authenticity.
So let's go back a bit. So the backpacking trip that you did you obviously backpacked before around Colorado, right? That wasn't
Yeah.
your very first backpacking adventure.
Well, I had done hiking backpacking, yes,
Gotcha.
but
Yeah, yeah,
certainly
yeah.
not travel backpacking.
Sure. Yeah, it is a little different. Yeah, right. And then after that, did you do other adventure trips? You're wanting to get to know places better and itineraries better. How did you research those itineraries?
So again, when I came back from that backpacking trip, I worked for one of the most well-known adventure travel companies,
Mm-hmm.
and I was surrounded by people that knew the industry incredibly well, and
Oh,
they had
okay.
a great focus on authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really was a bit of an internship of sorts.
Gotcha.
So in it worked both ways. I had a lot of information about Latin America, and my coworker had a lot of information about Africa,
Oh,
and we
right.
would
Mm-hmm.
just it's
Just learn from each
constant
other. Yeah,
learning.
that's
Yeah,
cool.
and
Yeah.
a shared open office space allowed us to have these conversations where we would just listen into one another.
Uh-huh. Got you. Yeah, yeah.
Just build this shared
So your
knowledge base.
yeah, so your desire to provide better service and more wellness, is that where the idea for Route Adventures came from?
Yes, in a way,
Mm-hmm.
but I had to have somebody tell me to do it.
Oh, interesting. Mm-hmm.
um, without going too far down into the abyss, I have a 2-year old, and he just turned 1, and I was going through some pretty dark postpartum depression.
Mm-hmm.
And so my work was failing a bit. I mean, my employers were super kind to me, and they gave me plenty of time, and I have nothing but positive things to say about them.
Mm-hmm.
But I happened to have lunch with my girlfriend who owned her own adventure travel company, and I kind of
Mm.
explained to her everything that was going on. On the walk to lunch, I was crying.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And I got there, and she said, "You need to start your own business." And she didn't ask me to come work for her.
Yeah, no,
She
that's
wasn't
great.
worried about the competition. She was like, "This is what you need."
Yeah.
And I walked away from that lunch feeling so empowered for the first time in months. And I
Right
was
on.
like, all right. And this is one of the women I worked with when I first joined the adventure travel industry.
Oh, so you'd known her for
Um,
a while. That's great. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so she's been a mentor to me, and as I've built this company, she's been readily available for
Cool.
destinations I've never been to. She's been happy to review itineraries, and she's really kind of set the tone of my business, which is collaboration over competition.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of business for all of us, and I think
Yeah.
that if we kind of unify and we bring ourselves together, we can make the industry that much better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's always ways for us to be creative and,
Yeah. That's
like I
what's
said, collaborate.
Yeah, that's what's so great about the adventure travel and outdoor industries both is during the day we can compete whether it's for trip money or, retail money or whatever it is, we're competing for the consumer, but at the end of the day we can go have a beer and chat about it. It's no big deal. It's so collaborative and so informative and it's a great place to be.
And that's one of the things I found with the Wayfinder with Joe and
Yeah.
Chris
Mm-hmm.
is I showed up there about a week before I was going on this big 5-week exploration trip, and they were just giving me all these places I needed to go and I
Yeah,
needed to
yeah.
see.
Yeah, yeah.
There were no secrets with them.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
then, I mean, it makes it really easy for me to know who are the people that I want to align myself with.
Right,
Are
right.
you the person that's going to tell me where to go? Or are you the person that's going to look at me as competition?
Right, right. And you can
Um,
pretty much tell. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, right away.
So yeah, so tell everybody about Root Adventures if they don't know. I'm not familiar with Root Adventures, so give us a little insight as to what you guys do and how long you've been around.
So Root Adventures is I'll kind of explain where the name came from, actually, and then we'll
Okay.
kind of go from there. Root Adventures came from the idea that travel is really grounding, and travel can help you connect not only to people that are different from yourself, but to yourself. I find that the more uncomfortable you are, the more you can really connect with what makes you tick and makes you a better person
Yeah. Yeah. The more
and
you need to
help.
take a trip,
Yeah, the
just
more
get out,
you,
get away.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I really think that, route and adventures, it's an oxymoron, really,
Hmm.
but I think that they are one and the same. I think
Hmm.
adventure really helps you root too,
Yeah. Good. I like it.
um,
Yeah.
what's valuable. And I have, I was a personal trainer in the past as well. Living in Argentina and Spain, I worked with a lot of expats and loved the idea of just being around people that were so different than me.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that fitness was a really good way to do that because it is kind of a common thread. And I think there's an opportunity within the fitness industry to make it less about looking good and more about
Right.
what it can help you accomplish,
Right.
whether
Being
that's
healthy.
hiking clear,
Right.
yeah,
That's
whether it's
great.
hiking Kilimanjaro or just feeling good after vacation,
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
rather than more tired.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, that's good.
um, so that's our main focus here. Um,
And you do trips
and
all over the world, right? I mean,
We
anywhere.
do trips all over we really specialize in Latin America, Asia, and Africa.
Okay. Hmm.
But we've recently dove into the US as well. So
Hmm.
very specific locations such as Sedona, Santa Fe. I have another client in Malibu.
Hmm.
And these are more wellness focused retreats.
Hmm.
Like I said, I've generally always done international. So this
Hmm.
is a new foray for me, but it's exciting.
So, do your trips run the gamut from a wellness retreat to a trek where you just kind of go find yourself and hike and give us
Yes.
okay, give us a little example of a couple of
So, I
trip
mean,
types
it
that you
could
do.
be as simple as, 3 days sitting on the Sea of Cortez
Hmm.
in Baja, relaxing, doing workouts on the beach,
Yeah, I could use that
to,
right now.
right? To trekking Kilimanjaro.
Nice. Hmm.
We really do the gamut,
Hmm.
and my main goal is to really help people find that what they're looking for
Right.
rather than kind of having these set itineraries. You'll see on my website, I only have 9 sample itineraries.
Gotcha. Hmm.
And obviously that doesn't work for everybody. A lot of people do want to
So you offer a
have,
lot of customization.
yes,
Yeah.
everything we do is 100% custom. So
Gotcha.
you're not going to find a lot of information on your website. What you do is you call us
Hmm.
and we have a long conversation to ensure that you're going to have a trip of a lifetime.
Right. So if you
Um,
do a Kilimanjaro trek, for example, at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day or say you stop for lunch, are there certain things you do to kind of let's bring everybody together and let's talk about how the morning went, how you're feeling? Do you do those kinds of things, or is it just a typical Kilimanjaro trek?
we don't necessarily have our brand.
Oh, I see. So you connect with other service providers. Gotcha.
Right, right,
Okay,
right.
got you. You just find out
So
what the
maybe,
no, that makes sense. No, that you find out what the person wants to do, and you connect them with the right provider that's going to give them the type of trip they want. That totally makes sense.
right.
Yeah.
Let me readdress that so we have something better because I sound a little off
No, that's
the.
okay.
Um, so we specialize in connecting you to local tour guides.
Mm-hmm.
We don't like to use any
Mm-hmm.
American tour
Yeah.
guides. We
Mm-hmm.
like to use everybody local to where you are visiting because a big part of our business model is doing good for the places in which we visit,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
making sure that we're taking care of the people that are taking care of us. If we're going to be on their land, we're going to treat them
Perfect. Yeah.
respectfully.
Yeah. That's great. So, what were some of the challenges getting that going? You came back from lunch. I got to start my own thing. Now, what do I do?
Well, it was a bit difficult because I was still working for another adventure travel company.
Right.
So one thing that I wanted to make sure I did is focus on them because they had been so good to me and make sure that I was doing a good job for them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wasn't quite ready to just jump ship.
Mm-hmm.
I think, this is a small industry. I care about the people that I work for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't necessarily jump right into building this business. I'm more focused on doing a better job for them. So I left on very good terms. And one thing that was really important to me is I was not interested in taking anything from them because they're a good company. They're doing a great job. But they're the ones that found the clients. They're the ones that, built their,
Yeah. Well, and sound like you were starting something a little different too. So
yeah.
yeah.
So I,
So starting from scratch, that adds a whole nother layer of challenge.
right. Exactly. So I mean, I've never built a website. I've
Wow.
never, launched a marketing campaign. I know almost nothing about marketing.
Yeah.
I'm a salesperson. That's what I've always been, and I'm very comfortable calling people and asking for what I need. But the main thing that I think I did differently than other companies is I asked for help when I needed it. I have a lot of really good friends in the industry, but I also wanted to get outside the industry and find people that could be kind of my support crew in terms of just business and marketing. Like I said, I know nothing about marketing, but I know a lot about sales. So
Right.
I've reached out to a friend who does PR and treated her to lunch and was like, just tell me everything you know. And I just became this really open book in looking for new opportunities to partner up with adventure brands such as backpacking brands and things of that nature, and kind of going off script a little bit and finding those opportunities for collaboration. That's rather awesome. Than just selling direct to consumer, looking for a way to build my brand outside of advertising. Because like I said, that was something that's really important to me. I don't want to advertise blankly to people and just hope that I get them. I'm happy to advertise group trips and things of that nature, but I want the custom side I want to have time for each of my clients.
Well, in this day and age, as I'm sure you've learned, there's so many other ways to reach people than just blanketly throwing ads at them. We get bombarded by ads, and most of us, if you're like me, I turn them off. I just don't pay attention to them. So you got to find another way. Yeah.
Right.
That's cool. So what are you most proud of that you've launched?
Let's see. What am I most proud of? I think that I'm most proud about our creativity and our authentic experiences
cool.
and our flexibility. Because again, I do have the time to really explore opportunities with other
other providers and
other private. I get to really take the time. So I'm not necessarily going to be able to get back to people in 24 hours because I'm looking for something special to them. I'm looking for something that's going to be something they can tell their friends about, but their friends will never really understand because it's going to be that true, authentic experience. So whether that's, a cooking class in a Mayan home where, there's horses inside the home and you kill your own chicken, whatever it may be, just something that makes you feel vulnerable and connected to the locals. That's what I'm love.
Do you vet these folks very often yourself?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, you must.
Yes, that's the most important thing to me is knowing firsthand what these experiences are like. So I just recently went on a really wonderful trek, but they're so close, 90% of the way there, but 90% is just certainly not good enough for me. So I come back to them and I say, we've got to change these 50 things before I can sell it to my clients, because as much as I enjoy what you're doing and I'm excited about what you're doing, this is a trip of a lifetime for people. I'm not going to just send somebody.
It's got to be extra special. Yeah.
Right.
So who are some of the other mentors that helped you along the way?
My husband has probably been the best.
Okay, right, good.
He has always been interested in entrepreneurship, and he doesn't necessarily have the entrepreneurial mindset.
Okay.
He's very analytical. He's very operations driven, which is the complete opposite of me. So he's always had these ideas and he wants to do these things, but he's never really pulled the trigger, which makes him the best partner for me because I'm happy to pull the trigger right away.
Right. Well, that's good to have because operations is going to be a key component of your business. Getting all that stuff, wired. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, and he's been really instrumental in making sure that everything's really organized, which is not necessarily my strong suit,
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that we really think about things before we take that next step.
Right, right.
So I would say he's my number one inspiration. Also, my dad, oddly enough, is my inspiration. I think he's he showed me that you don't necessarily have to follow a specific path.
Uh-huh.
When I was 12 years old, he was a lawyer, and he one day called me up and said that he was not going to be a lawyer anymore.
Wow.
And that year he made $10,000, and he was a wedding photographer, and he was a radio show host, and he was a rodeo announcer. He just tried everything,
Cool.
and he decided to live his best life, and he's just so much happier for it.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine him going back to practicing law for oil and gas.
Wow, yeah, wow. That's great. Good for him.
So yeah, it really set the tone for my life that you don't necessarily have to follow this path, because he was raised in a well-to-do life where you went to college, you went to law school, you got this job, and you kept it forever. And he said, no, this isn't right. Yeah, I have 3 daughters, but I'm still going to do what's right for me.
Yeah, good for him.
And I think that's valuable.
Did you grow up in Colorado?
I grew up in New Mexico.
Okay,
actually.
Cool. Uh-huh,
Yeah.
nice, yeah. And do you guys work with any nonprofits?
Yeah, I actually sit on the board for this wonderful group called Women in Balance. And it's based out of Denver. And it's two of my favorite people run it.
Cool.
And it's really about empowering women, whether that's to get outdoors or it's just to seek help when they need it. I think that, we have a real crisis with mental health in this world, and especially postpartum, when women are suffering, they don't necessarily take the time for themselves. In this group, you can find them on Facebook. It's a Women in Balance community on Facebook.
Cool.
They
We'll
are
look
just,
we'll link to them in the show notes. Yeah.
perfect. It's just this really safe space where you can ask any question that you might have, and I'm really proud of the work that they're doing, and
Cool.
want to see it grow.
Yeah, we'll link to those guys. What outdoor activities do you guys participate in?
What outdoor activities do we not participate in?
I was going to say, yeah, maybe the not list is shorter.
I think my biggest is skiing. My husband actually just did the Leadville 100 mountain bike race, which was a story in and of itself. So that's his summer passion. Of course, we hike, we run, we trail run, we rock climb, whatever we can do, we do. And we are not an expert in anything, but a lover of all things.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Wide variety that keeps you healthier and more balanced, I think.
Right.
So as you started your own business, do you have any advice and suggestions for someone wanting to get into the outdoor adventure travel business, start their own business, grow their career?
Say do it. One of the biggest things that you hear people talk about is mindset. It's all about the mindset. And I actually disagree. I think it's all about doing it. Motivation is a farce. You're never going to be motivated. You just don't want to send that email. Send that email and move on to the next thing. Just do it. Just one foot in front of the other. It's just like hiking a mountain.
Yep.
You're never going to see the top until you're there. Yep. So take that next step.
I love it.
And just don't wait until your motivation is there, because it will never be.
Well, it comes and goes. That's the challenge,
yeah, exactly.
Right?
It might be there for a minute.
Some days you're fired up, and then the next day it's like, oh man, So yeah, no, that's great. Just keep moving. I love it. That's good advice. Do you have any daily routines that you use to maintain your sanity with all the things you got going on? Do you meditate? Walk the dog?
Exercise is a huge part of my life, and meditation as well. I would say I'm the worst at daily routines, and that is one of my biggest goals, is to set up a daily routine. But I did recently hire a meditation coach, which has been the best investment of my entire life.
Yeah, interesting.
Just to have somebody there I think it's better than counseling. Just somebody to give you the space to listen to yourself and create that open mindset. So when good things appear, you know to reach for them.
Right. Well, that's good. How about favorite books? Do you have any favorite books, or do you give books as gifts very often?
I don't necessarily give specific books as gifts. I like to give gifts specific to the person.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite books that actually changed my life, I was when I did that 6 month backpacking trip, I read Tales of a Female Nomad.
Okay.
It's about this woman who had already raised kids and decided to divorce her husband, and she went and traveled um, on her own and really dove in. She got off the beaten path
Wow.
and really went to these little tribes in Mexico and stayed with them for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really off the grid. And she really inspired me to not create a checklist. I'm very much against the bucket list,
Mm-hmm.
more. I don't need a picture of Machu Picchu because I can look one up
Yeah.
online.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that experience of getting to know the local culture and learning about their cuisine and
Mm-hmm.
allowing yourself to let the experiences happen to you rather than creating them. And that's one of my biggest mottos in life. And I've shared this quote several times in the last few weeks, but it's a tourist sees what he came to see, a traveler sees what he sees, or it's actually the in reverse. A traveler sees what he sees, a tourist sees what he came to see. And
Gotcha.
I 100% believe that
Mm-hmm.
if you have this agenda, if you have these expectations, then that's all your experience is going
Yeah.
to be. But
Mm-hmm.
if you allow yourself to let the experiences come to you, it'll be that much better.
Yeah. Well, and you're spot on for the trends in adventure travel and travel. More people are trying to look for experiences as opposed to check the box these days.
Hmm.
And I think that's great. I totally agree with you. I think you have a lot more fun when you immerse yourself with the locals and you get down and dirty and do what's going on and just let it happen. It's fun.
Yeah, you create some value
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
in your experience. And I think that the more you can connect with the locals, the more you have empathy and understanding, and you can bring that back home and share with other people. I mean, one of the trips I've recently created was with my coffee shop that's just a couple doors down. They, it's an Ethiopian run coffee shop, and somebody came and wrote a profanity on the outside of their a racist profanity on the outside of their building.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day, they posted it on Facebook, and it just got picked up throughout the city. The next day, there were 800 people at the coffee shop, 2 blocks down the road, waiting in line to get a cup of coffee. And
Wow.
it just, this community came
Yeah.
out.
Right on.
And I've been working there for years, and I was like, this is silly. These people have these opinions about humans they've never met.
Yeah.
We need to get people to Ethiopia. We need to get people to understand what makes this place so special.
Yeah.
So I approached the owner and said, why don't I know nothing about Ethiopia. I'm not an expert,
Yeah.
but I know the people that can make this happen. And I
Yeah.
know every detail about Ethiopia. So
Yeah.
we're doing a trip with her in the spring
Oh, right on.
where we're bringing all our local community to go to her hometown, and we're going to do a coffee ceremony in one
Very
of her
cool.
family's homes. We're going to do a cooking class in another family's home, and going to attend a wedding of one of her friends. And it's just going to be this really immersive cultural experience. And
Man,
there's
how
certainly
fun.
nothing that the main focus is not to check anything off the list, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
to truly understand another culture so we can bring it back and maybe spread some more love about this particular culture. And the
Mm-hmm.
more cultures you have in your arsenal, in understanding, the better this world is going to be.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's awesome. That's gonna be a fun trip.
Yeah.
It's cool that she was open to that too. That's fabulous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was
Yeah.
super excited. She said she'd always wanted to do it, but she
Oh,
never
very
did
nice.
it.
Cool. That's
Within
great.
2 weeks, we had it ready to go.
Nice. Awesome. So in all your travels, do you have a favorite piece of outdoor gear that you always travel with that's under $100? Can't leave home without it?
I would say the number one thing is my eye mask and earplugs.
Ah, great.
I know that's not super exciting, but it is nice to be able to sleep anywhere.
It's funny. You're right, and no one has mentioned that on the show. And I'm with you. I take them all the time on the
I
plane, in the
mean,
hotels. That's great.
it's so silly, and I had this discussion. We did this women's trip, and I asked everybody what their thing was, and everybody was saying iPhones and this, that, the other, and
Yeah,
I cannot leave home without it
yeah,
because,
yeah.
again, that 6 month backpacking trip, staying in these terrible hostels,
Right.
you learn you can have a really quiet space with just a
Yep.
$5 piece of equipment.
Yep. That's awesome. Yep. As we go to wrap up, is there anything you'd like to ask of our listeners or say to our listeners before we close?
Um, again, it just goes back to the authenticity. I urge everybody to listen to what they need and what they want and be open to what comes your way.
Great.
Really allow yourself to connect, and connecting requires losing your expectations.
Yeah, that's good. Perfect. I love it. And how can people follow up with you if they want to reach out and ask questions or check out?
Well, it's pretty easy. I'm at rootadventures.com,
Okay.
and you can find me on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram at Root Adventures.
Cool. We'll link to all that in the show notes so they can click and get a hold of you.
Perfect.
Yeah. Any other comments before we close?
I don't think so. Thanks
Great.
so much for having me.
Yeah,
It's
no,
been
thank you. It's
nice.
been fabulous. Yeah, it sounds like a very you've built a cool business there. That's awesome.
Well, it's interesting because you never really think too much. I mean, I'm very much in the thick of it right now, so I never really take the time to think about why I did this and how I did this.
Yeah.
It's nice for you to kind of remind me of these things.
Yeah. Well, and it's good. I forget where I learned this. I think we were at Eagle Creek a few years ago, and Steve Barker, the owner, wanted to grow the business and brought in some outside consultants, and one of the guys was a strategic planning guy, and he really brought home to me the fact that you have to spend time working on your business because you'll just get lost working in it all the time. Because
that is such a good statement.
Yeah, because every day, whether it's a little podcast like this or your business or a big brand, you're just in it, right? You're in the heat of the battle, heat of the moment, and it's good to step back and work on the business and figure out, some strategies and some planning and some goals and operations and procedures and stuff. So yeah, I learned that long ago. Thanks to Steve.
That's one of the things my husband recently said to me last week. We were talking about our growth plan, and he mentioned something about nurturing what we have, and I'd lost sight of that. I was so focused on growth that I had forgotten about all these wonderful people we do have, and those are the people that really matter.
Yeah.
And it did take somebody else taking me outside of it to realize.
Yeah, because you're in it every day. You get up every morning. There's no shortage of things to do. You can get lost. And next thing you know, 6 months have gone by, and you're still doing what you're doing. So no, that's good. Well, good. I'm glad you're going to take time to do that. That's great.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons they say not to use your inbox as your checklist.
Exactly. Yeah, don't run your business from your inbox. Yeah,
that's my goal for the week.
Nice. Good. Well, good. I hope you nail it.
Setting the attention.
Yep. There you go. Well, thanks for the time. I appreciate you coming on the show. It was good to meet you in Denver, and hopefully we'll connect again in Denver at some point.
Perfect. Well, it was good to chat with you. Thanks for inspiring me yet again.
All right. Have fun. Have a good day.
All right. Thanks,
All right.
Rick.
Yep. Bye. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Breanne Kiefner. Sounds like they offer some cool adventures at Root Adventures. You can follow up with Breanne at rootadventures.com and Root Adventures on all the socials. You'll find links to everything we discussed in the show notes at theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/episode 130. Be sure to hit your favorite podcast app and subscribe today. Thanks for listening. Today's podcast is brought to you by InMotion Hosting. I've used InMotion Hosting to host my websites for years. Rick Say's Photos blog, Stillwater's Consulting, and the Outdoor Biz podcast are all hosted with InMotion Hosting. If your New Year's resolution is to publish a blog, produce a podcast, or simply secure a domain name, go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/InMotion and sign up with them today. They make it simple and quick to get a new site up and running with easy installation tools. That's theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/InMotion. Get going today. If you want more of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, you can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Be sure to go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com where you'll find all the links to the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. And be sure to make time to get outside and take someone with you.